Hello guys! Today we'll be discussing Section B of IGCSE Economics Paper 2 and focusing on the tips and tricks to help you ace this paper. As always, the total time allocated for Paper 2 is 2 hours 15 minutes and the total marks is 90. With 2 sections in total, 4 questions are given in Section B and you have to choose 3 to answer. I've already touched on the answering techniques for Section A in the previous video, so do check it out if you haven't already. Keep in mind that you should not be answering all the 4 questions as you'll be wasting your time and no extra marks are given if you do so, so just choose 3 questions and answer them. So this is how Section B looks like. 4 questions are given. And out of these 4 questions, you have to choose 3. Each question has 4 parts, with part A being 2 marks, part B being 4, part C 6, and part D 8. Each question is also accompanied by a small paragraph where you can refer to whenever you construct your answer. Each sentence in this extract usually directly correlates to a question part, so you can use it to help you answer the questions. Part A will either be an identify question or they will ask you to define something, so make sure you're familiar with most, if not all, of the economic terms. For excelling in this, I recommend you to make a list on Google Doc of all the terms and their definitions, which you can get from the economics textbook, and then you just look at each chapter for like about 5 minutes every day until your exam. Or besides that, you could also make flashcards either on Quizlet or like on paper.
Obviously, you should still be able to explain key terms even without doing this, but I personally find that this will help me secure the 2 marks, which can be quite game-changing. And sometimes certain key terms will require specific information to be included, so it's always good to compile them and learn them like this.
But anyways, 2-mark identify questions should be quite straightforward as well. You just have to make sure you know the syllabus content, and then you should still be able to do these. Okay, next will be the 4 markers, and these are usually just explain questions. Once again, very straightforward, just write what the question wants as the point, and then explain it, then repeat this again, and you should be getting all the 4 marks. Moving on to part C. It is a 6-mark analyze question, and just follow this method. Write 3 points and then back up with an explanation. Or you could also write 2 points and then make your explanations longer so that it's worth up to 2 marks. However, I find this kind of risky as I usually tend to explain a lot anyways, so using the 3 points will make sure that I can get all 6 marks. But obviously, this isn't always the case as some questions will restrict you to only 2 points. Part C can also be a graph question, which is either PPC or demand and supply diagrams. So make sure that you're familiar with these two, especially the demand and supply graphs, as they're also asked in Section A. But in Section B, they will also ask you to give an explanation that is worth up to 2 marks, as you can see here. And the explanation will usually just be the effect of whatever is happening in the question. And if you want me to go into this, I can make a separate video. For the graph, make sure to label the y and x axis. Label your graph, obviously, and then label any equilibriums. If there's a shift, also remember to draw the arrow. Okay, next is part D, which is the 8 marks and is always the discuss questions. This is similar to the discussed questions in section A, although marked a bit differently. For discussed questions, you have to remember that it needs to include both sides. So for this question, you have to state why low tax rates will benefit an economy as well as why it doesn't benefit the economy. Whenever I plan for discussed questions, I like to draw a yes or no table, with yes being why it does and no being why it doesn't. I'll then add a point and explanation to each column until I have about 5 points in total on both sides. This means that there will be 2 points in one column and 3 points in the other. For this question, it's okay if both sides don't have the same amount of points, as long as you write at least 2 points for each side. And a lot of people are actually confused about this, but you don't need to write a conclusion for this question or in any IGCSE econs question, so don't worry about that. If you look at the econs mark schemes, they don't actually award a mark for conclusions. For the time allocation, I recommend to spend a maximum of 30 minutes on each question in section B so that you can get through all 3 questions in this section. This means that you will have a maximum of 45 minutes for section A. Obviously, you can spend less time for each section so that you have enough time to check, but it's up to you. How to pick which questions to do. Whenever you reach section B, you should always briefly scan through all the questions first and see what they are asking. Then you can assess which ones you're more confident in doing. But remember to make your decisions based on the 6 and 8 mark questions rather than the 2 and 4 marks, because they take out more marks, so it will likely impact your grade. If you choose the easy 2 and 4 markers but harder 6 and 8 markers, it will be kind of harder to score well. But just don't overthink about which question to do, and randomly choose 3 if you can't decide. The last thing you should be doing during the exam is being indecisive and stressing about which 3 questions that are the best to do, because trust me, it's not that deep. The questions will all be doable and you guys will be fine. Anyways, that is it for section B. Thank you for watching, and if you have any tips that you would like to share with everyone else, feel free to comment down below. Thank you for watching.